What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 17 of the Boot Nerds podcast. I am your co-host, John.
I'm
Jay,
JayMike.
what's going on?
In the building. What's happening, guys? What's popping? 17. What an awesome number. Thanks for sticking with us for 17 episodes. Now, don't forget that if you're a part of the OG Boot Nerds crew, go leave a like on the video. It will make us very happy. If you're one of the new guys watching Boot Nerds, thank you. Welcome to this awesome podcast where we talk about the best thing in the world, football boots, for a very long time. If you're one of those new guys, go and leave a like on the video as well. And don't forget, guys, that if you want to have your question answered by yours truly and Josh, a.k.a. Jefferson, aka something with J. Leave a question down in the comment section right down below, and we're gonna pick the best ones for the next podcast. But today, Josh, we are gonna discuss the brand new boots from Adidas, the 302 Redirect Pack. Don't ask me what the name means, but it includes a brand new Nemeziz 19 Plus and 19.1, and even a brand new X19 Plus and an X19.1. Yeah.
Four boots.
Four
it's
boots.
A lot to take in at one time. But they did it.
Wait, which do you want to start with?
Let's start with the Nemeziz because I feel like that is the biggest change.
Here we go. Nemeziz 19 Plus. I think you put it pretty well in your video when you talked about how the Nemeziz has evolved. It started with a bit of tape, then it had more tape, and now it's all tape.
Yep, that's pretty much what they've done.
Yep.
I haven't tried these boots yet. You're the only one that's worn pretty much any of these. I'm hoping to have them probably in the next. I mean, we're recording this a few days earlier, but by the time this goes up, I'll probably have them, potentially even videos up.
Okay.
But I'm very curious to try it out. It's an interesting concept. When I first saw it, it reminded me a lot of the first Nemeziz 17 Plus sneakers.
Yeah.
Remember the sneakers with the Ultra Boost where the bands kind of cut in the middle? That's immediately what it reminded me of. And I might actually the bacon thing is... I didn't initially think that, but when people pointed it out, it's definitely a little bit like that.
18 plus was salmon and this is bacon. I mean, I just gotta. I love the internet. The internet is a fantastic place when stuff like this happens. I didn't realize before, but then I looked at it now and I can't unsee bacon.
Yeah, it does. It does have that look about it.
But it has like a very, very distinctive silhouette, right? I think when you see it, especially when you see it in hand and realize, okay, there's basically no opening on this boot until you actually go and stretch it out a little bit. It's not difficult to get your foot in at all, actually, but it just looks really funky. And I think when you have that on-shelf approach to the new Nemeziz, you see them on the shelf next to the Pred. And the Copa and the Adi Zero, really, it's gonna stand out a lot because it has this very angular shape to it.
Yeah, I think it's important for, I think, any new boot these days to kind of set itself apart from everything. And that undeniably, not even just in comparison to the current Adidas lineup, but in comparison to anything, it's just got such a distinctive look about it that you almost can't compare to anything that has ever existed. And I actually really like the concept of having the collar be so tight from the get-go, because that's been one of the complaints, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of it too in the Unisport videos, where people ask, hey, the collar doesn't fit my ankle particularly tight. Is there a way for me to fix that? Is there something wrong? And that's just down to having a predetermined shape. But when it's that tight to begin with, no matter how thin your ankle is, it's going to wrap it nice and close.
And that's the thing, it actually does. So initially, I was a bit skeptical when I got the Nemeziz. I thought, what is this? What are they thinking here? But actually, when you get it on your foot, it's a little bit difficult because there inside here, there's this band that goes across, basically acting as a seatbelt to keep your foot in place, because the outer bands, the upper bands are free floating and they stretch 4 ways, so they are pretty loose. But when you get in and you get your foot in using a shoe horn, I use that, that's easier. It feels really good up here because the bands are so adaptive and really follow the shape of your ankle and foot very, very nicely. It's probably one of the nicest high-cut executions I've tried out there because they are so flexible. Yes.
It's an interesting... I'm very curious to try it out because out of all the laceless boots from the Adidas brand, I guess up until Copa 19 Plus, because I think those are probably the best laceless boots that I've tried.
Hands down.
The Nemeziz 18 Plus actually fit me pretty well. And the way they did the laceless system with basically just a reinforced mesh material underneath the fancy bands, that kind of defeats the purpose of the bands in the first place, but we're not going to talk about that. The lockdown, it was actually okay, given that they fit me properly.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to try this system out because it looks to be drastically different than what they did with the first two generations, because this is really the first major redesign for the Nemeziz.
Exactly. And basically the 18 Plus was just it got a higher color. And then of course the mesh and the further padding on top of the midfoot. But as you say, this is a complete redesign. Gone is the weave on the forefoot, which I actually enjoyed a lot on the Nemeziz 18 Plus and the 18.1 because it was really, really soft and very pliable. It is a little it is stiffer on the 19 Plus and 0.1 here. I'm not gonna lie, it is stiffer and it takes more time to break in. But on the other hand, I don't know if you've seen the videos we've done on Unisport, but we explained there that the upper is now basically a package consisting of the tape and then a thin mesh liner on the inside. So it's just tape and liner. There's no foam, there's no nothing. So it's a very thin package, which means that you feel a lot of the ball. And that's something I enjoy on this a lot.
That's it. When I saw this design, the first thing that I thought of, I don't know if they have them in Europe. I'm assuming they do, but this was a couple years ago. I don't know if they still make it, but they had, it was a women's running shoe with the original Ultra Boost base. It was part of like their designer line. I forget the lady's name.
Stella McCartney?
That's on the title. That's the one.
Yep.
Do you remember they had the one where the upper was like separate from the outsole through the midfoot and it wrapped underneath?
That is the Ultra Boost X, I think.
I'm not sure. It was only available in women's.
Yes, it is a women's running shoe, yeah.
Yeah, that concept for the Nemeziz I thought would be kind of a cool thing, especially when they went with the split sole. So I kind of think that they were kind of going for that look where it has that complete wrap through the midfoot. The only problem with implementing that on a football boot would be just the dirt and exposure to the elements, basically, right?
Sure. And but wouldn't it destabilize the sole to some extent?
It probably would. Well, you still have to have a physical sole plate underneath. And then I was thinking, maybe they had like an internal complete wrap around your foot, almost like the stirrup on a pair of shin guards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then I kind of thought, if it's going to fit that tight when you're putting them on, it's going to crumple up on you and it could potentially be a bit of a pain to put on and take off. But that's with the Nemeziz concept that they have going with the tape band. That's kind of something that I thought would be pretty cool. I just don't know if it would work.
I think it sounds like a really cool idea. And I think if they could execute it right, it would add a completely unique thing that the Nemeziz should stand for. They didn't. It's just basically, I know it looks like it's a split outsole and there's nothing in the middle, but it's just an insole board instead, giving the stiffness. So these parts are basically just thin layers of plastic that sits on the outside of the tape, which has been wrapped around the real sole, giving the stiffness. So it's a bit of just like on the Vapor, basically. It's just there for looks. That's all it does.
Yeah, that's all a split sole is like a broken up sole plate.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just they've added more layers.
Exactly. But the funny thing here with the midfoot construction is that maybe you should talk a bit, and I'm going to find the old Nemeziz because it's a funny thing that they've changed the whole construction, and some things are for the better, but some things are actually also for the worse, at least in my opinion. You can give your thoughts on it.
Really? Well, my whole thing with this new Nemeziz is I almost thought like, and I think a lot of people would agree with me that maybe this new Nemeziz didn't need to exist. Maybe they should have called it something else or just gone for a completely different concept. Obviously, they've been developing this boot for probably around 2 years, I would guess, like they do most top-end products. But this is being the first major redesign for the Nemeziz line. I'm curious if there are people out there that are like have been dedicated to the Nemeziz line from the start and are really excited about these, or if people are just excited about this new model and they're just going to be willing to give it a new try, wear a Nemeziz for the first time based on the, I guess, more extreme concept.
Whatever you just said, it was probably really clever.
It was very clever. You missed a lot.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
I was
probably.
just saying, I wonder how many people have consistently worn Nemeziz since it came out. And I wonder how many people are going to try Nemeziz for the first time based on such an extreme concept that they've introduced.
See, that's actually a very interesting question, because is this special enough to really sway people from, say, the Phantom Venoms, if they were into Hyper Venom and they want something high cut? Are they going to go from the Phantom Venoms, which has also been built for, agility, fast, rapid changes of movement, and of course striking the ball, into the Nemeziz? Is it something that takes people away from other silos, generates new loyal players to the silo, if you know what I mean? Or is it just going to be people who know the Nemeziz and basically just want to stay with it? That's something. It's a bit of a question for me, if this is unique and special enough to really warrant people freaking out about it and taking the chance of trying something new. I don't really know.
I think they definitely did everything right in terms of making a unique product. And people are going to give it a try based on how unique it is. Whether or not they like it and whether or not the product is actually good is, I think, what's going to determine loyalty to the Nemeziz line. Because they might try it the first time based on how unique it is, but if they don't end up liking it, they'll probably never buy Nemeziz again.
Probably not, no. And this for me is like a bit of a, this Nemeziz has to work for the Nemeziz line to be a thing over the coming years. I'm not saying the Nemeziz is a bad line. I'm just saying that I don't think it's been as popular as Adi perhaps anticipated it would be. The first Nemeziz was really special. It had a very, the concept around Nemeziz, we've talked about this before, it's very easy to understand. It's perhaps the easiest USP on the market right now, because it's about tape, it's about agility, and you can actually see the benefits in other sports, right? But it's just, if the tape concept fails to really establish itself as something people appreciate and take to, then what do they have left to offer with the Nemeziz boot? Do you know what I mean?
No, this is it. This is like, it's fair to say that over the last 2 years, Nemeziz has been the 4th place silo for the Adidas brand. Even in the days of Copa 17-1 and 18-1, I would say.
Yeah. I was going to say, back then for me, I would probably have, the Copa 16, 17 below that, 17.
Yeah,
18,
you think so? I mean, I guess it's a toss-up there in terms of preference.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Like, to me, the Nemeziz line seems to be following the same path as the Nitro Charge did, where it's like, it's a solid product.
Yeah. See, that's
but it's like it's not special enough, or it's not interesting enough. But this, I think, is the extreme jump that it needed to make. And if this doesn't do well, then it's over.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a bit like, for me, a Hail Mary pass, because, if it's so extreme that of course Nemeziz is built to be extreme. It's built to turn heads and be rascal and innovative and, like the flagship of doing what the others will not dare to do. And if this works,
it's like going into the Champions League semifinal down 3-0.
Yeah, and then just attacking. Like nothing to lose. And hey, it worked. So which was, I'm a United fan. Respect to Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp and all the players. What a performance. But as a United fan, Barcelona, what are you? Oh my.
Yeah, what a performance. But like that 4th goal, like, come on.
You cannot, as a professional footballer in the Champions League semifinal, and you have everything to play for still, you cannot be that unfocused and just like, fair play to Trent Alexander-Arnold, such a young guy showing that amount of awareness that he spots Origi, who isn't even looking at the ball, and he basically just turns and smashes it top bins. Origi. Where does it come from?
No, it was a great play. It was a great finish. If that was the first goal of the match, then it's okay. It's kind of understandable. Mm-hmm. But when you are now tied and like going to go into like extra time, you would think that you are like concentrating so hard. But no, they just nobody paying attention.
Isn't this what they taught you, in kindergarten, basically, when you're playing football? Never take your eyes off the ball, ever.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
But anyways, I just wanted to finish up on the Nemeziz because with the new construction here, I actually feel that, the fit is nicer than in the 18 plus here, but the lockdown and maybe the feel in the toe box has gone down a little bit. You get a sharper touch on the ball. It's not as elegant as it was here. It has a very nice balance for me. Good sharpness, a little bit of softness and elegance. Here's just very, very sharp, very straight to the point with the ball. And you just get a very honest, clean connection in the new Nemeziz. But it's also a little stiff, and the lockdown isn't as good as I had hoped it would be. But thankfully, there's hope, because there's a low-cut, laced-up version. And thank the Lord for that.
Yeah. My concern for this new Nemeziz is it's you're going to either love it or you're going to hate it. And I don't think it's one of those boots where you're going to see it in different colorways and your opinion's going to change.
What do you think on the colorway and the design in general?
I think it looks, because of now the association with bacon, I think that the plus looks a little strange, but I think it's weird looking, not ugly, right?
Yeah.
Anything that's such an extreme change from anything we'd seen before is always going to be a little bit weird at first. But I think in black, in a more simple colorway, maybe it's going to look really good.
I totally agree, and I don't like how it looks in hand, but when you get it on feet, the way the tape really wraps your ankle looks, for me, fantastic. So I appreciate that a lot. I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, but the 0.1 I think actually looks pretty sweet. I'm a fan of that.
This looks like a speed boot, right?
Yeah, that's the thing with they've basically. I almost feel like Adidas is competing against themselves with the Nemeziz and the X now.
Yes. Yes, 1,000 times yes. I mean, this is like a slightly more agile version of a speed boot, and then you have, this X19.1, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which is more like just a sprinter's boot. But no matter how you put it, for me, the X19.1 just wins this because it's more comfortable, it weighs a little less, and it has a sole plate that's just wired a little bit more for actual, responsive movements. It just like who would choose who would choose the Nemeziz over the X as an alternative to a Vapor or a Phantom Venom?
It's true. Like, I mean, not having tried the new Nemeziz at all, I can pretty much expect that it's going to be a little bit heavier, like you said, a little bit stiffer, a little bit more solid feeling overall. But I don't think most people who were really interested in a speed boot care about those specific things. They would rather just have something thinner and lighter.
But this, to me, actually,
why buy it?
The cool thing about this is it also has the really thin tape mesh upper thing. So it's actually very sharp on the ball. The last they built it on feels super nice. So it's a very low cut, a low profile, very sharp on the ball boot. You get a really nice responsive plate because it's so stiff. So you have a lovely snapback when you actually bend your foot and it folds out again and pushes you forward. I really do appreciate that. And I don't mind it. I actually enjoy wearing the 19.1s quite a lot. I just don't know why I should choose it over the X or the Copa 19 Pluses.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I feel like they fixed what needed to be fixed with the 0.1 Nemeziz model.
Yes.
But it's still, I don't know. Unless you're really into the tape concept, you're right. There's really not much of a reason to pick that over an X, I think, for most people, unless you're like a diehard Messi fan.
In which case, you can buy his new colorway. But the thing that really disappoints me with this is that we don't get the Messi Gamba Tracks outsole anymore. And that was one of the big draws for me on the Messi boots because I love that tooling. It's fantastic.
Yeah. But that, I mean, you just said the key word there. They would have to invest in new tooling for what I think, like you said, is a bit of a Hail Mary shot. So the fact that they even invested in a new stud pattern at all is a little bit surprising to me. And there's definitely more costs associated to doing a split sole as well. So for them to do two different stud pattern variations on a line of football boots that has not done well for them over the last 2 years. While I would like to see that, I don't think it was ever going to happen again.
You're probably right. I just gotta appreciate how this boot looks. I'm not really a fan of the color mix, but it just shows that the design is onto something. I actually think it looks really, really fresh. And with the right colors, the right color combination, wow.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, had they gotten rid of the orange stripes and just gone blue and white, would have looked really clean.
Actually, yeah. Yeah, that would have been amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's a nice silhouette. I appreciate it for what it is. I'm not 100% sure, solid boot as it is, if it's going to compete well against their own boots, the X, or the Copa for that matter.
Okay. Can we mention one thing? Because I've had a lot of people ask me this since yesterday, which is today is Wednesday, if you're wondering. For that doesn't really matter. Either way, Messi was training in the new Nemeziz.
Yes.
Well, it's Thursday today.
Yes.
It's too confusing. The Champions League match happened already. Messi was training in the new Nemeziz leading up to the Champions League, but obviously did not wear them in the match. And a lot of people have been asking why. Jay, do you have an answer for that?
I don't know exactly why, but I assume it's familiarization. So obviously the boots will have been built to Messi's exact specifications, built on his personal last, probably even built, if he still prefers that, with his a burrito-style tongue. I actually don't know if they made it. I don't think they did.
It looks... I've zoomed in on a few pictures, and you can pretty clearly see on the lateral side of the boot that it only uses a single lace hole.
Okay.
It's still pretty pixelated, but you couldn't do a single lace hole if it was a true one-piece upper. So I think it's still the same general construction.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But I would simply assume that he knows his trusted nemesis in an important match like this. He knows it's going to be tough. He probably opted to stick with something that he felt that he trusted. He felt comfortable in.
Well, yeah. I mean, Adidas did the same thing last year, launching new boots right before the Champions League final. And then come the Champions League final, none of the players are wearing the new boots. I understand why Adidas wants to do it around such an important match and where there's lots of hype around it. But you can't expect these players who have been wearing the same boots all season to now, in the most important match of the entire season, wear new boots. And Messi he doesn't strike me as a guy that likes to switch his boots as it is.
No.
So for him to wear a new boot, that's the reason why not just Messi, but pretty much any of the players weren't really wearing a lot of the new stuff.
Exactly. That's basically the answer to that.
That's the answer.
But Adidas have also released something that actually has me more excited, the X19 Plus. Basically, we just talked about it before we started shooting here, but basically the only big change on this is the upper material, but it's also, it means everything. It completely changes the feel and the fit of the boot, for me at least. Gone is the skeletal weave, however you say it in English.
Skeletal weave.
Okay, and in has come the X-layskin. The funny thing is that this construction is actually inspired, as I've been told by the Adi product guys, by the 99-gram boot. The whole construction there with this really shape cut foam on the inside. I don't know if you can kind of see it here. And then we have a thin film that has been engineered with these like stripy things in them. To give a little bit of structure. So it's basically foam and a thin film on the upper. And it means that it's not only 10 grams lighter, it's also significantly thinner and a whole lot softer. And that was a bit of the issues I had with the 18 Plus, that it was a little too stiff to feel truly personal and comfortable from the get-go. And it never really did for me.
Yeah, a little plasticky for sure. My issue with the 18 Plus is that it just didn't seem to fit me that well. I don't know. And the way that they haven't changed it with the new one, but the way they extend that front tongue piece, it just kind of crinkles up on you a little bit on the X18 Plus. But if it looks like they've changed the shape ever so slightly, and if the material is a little bit softer,
it doesn't.
It could definitely change it.
It doesn't crinkle that much anymore, because this was also one of the things that annoyed me. It just didn't look as cool. But it's. I'm not going to say it's crinkle free, because I can only speak for myself, but I haven't experienced anything, and I just went out to record with this today. And you can watch a video on Unisport's channel very soon, by the way, shameless plug. But it feels like a much more streamlined experience than the 18 pluses. And this for me is how you should do a facelift. Like, we've seen so many of them, and we've talked so much about it. We talked about it last week, I think, where I couldn't reveal that these were coming, but I knew. so I knew that this is the facelift of all facelifts, because it actually is the same product. It feels like the X, but it's just a lot more comfortable, and it's lighter, and it fits everyone better.
Yeah, you can, when you want to put out a new model as any brand, I don't have a problem with you calling it something else, as long as you've legitimately changed something about the boots, right? So the base design of the X19 is pretty much the same as the X18, but if they completely change the material of the upper, that's justification for a new name, rather than adding a rubber element on the heel.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is how they should all look to this and think, wow, this actually improved the product, and will probably also convince people who bought the 18 model to buy the 19, because it gives them more of the same, only it's way better, right? I wasn't big on wearing these in the 18 pluses in a match, but I will actually English me no speak. I will actually consider wearing these in an actual match.
Wow.
But I won't, because I'll wear these. They also changed the 19.1s, of course. It's still speed mesh, just a little different.
Slight change to the base textile, which for me, like, the only thing about the X18.1 that I would change would be a slight bit of added structure to the upper. And again, that little extension piece to the tongue just doesn't need to be there. And we've seen, actually, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the pros who wear the X have a shortened version of that tongue at the front. And for me, which would be nice.
Yeah, this part still crinkles, and that's a little bit annoying. But it's one of the only things I can actually complain about on the 19.1s. As you said, the mesh has been slightly reinforced. It feels a little bit thicker, also because there's a little bit more of the plastic synthetic film on top of the actual mesh. You don't have the cutouts as you do on the 18. So it feels a little more solid, but still actually softer, comparing the two next to each other. It feels a little, I would not necessarily say more pliable, but it feels more plush, if it's a thing you can say about synthetic, if you know what I mean. There's a little bit more.
Well, it's a mesh base. If you make the mesh a little bit thicker, it's going to have a slightly, yeah, you're right.
But also
there's probably more like airiness to the mesh itself.
Exactly. It's the airiness, and also maybe just the plastic itself, the film on top of it feels a little bit more bouncy to the touch than it does in the other boot. Still a pretty tacky to the touch. So they have decent grip on the ball, and that's basically it. So it's only the upper package that has that's changed.
Which is really the only thing they should have changed, because I think the sprint frame and the stud pattern on the X is really, really solid.
Great speed boot. I don't have much to complain about with these, and they look cool.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, well, which is your favorite? Like, okay, we can also talk looks here about it. I don't have the Pred with me, or the Copa for that matter. But we can just quickly discuss. I'm sure all of the people watching the Boot Nerds podcast, thank you by the way, have seen the new pack. Which is the coolest looking boot?
Honestly, for me, the best looking is the Nemeziz 19.1 out of the whole pack. I think that's the best looking one. I don't like the X colorway. I really don't. The Copas look good.
What?
I don't care for the colorway, Jay. It's not my thing.
But it's iridescent. Everyone loves iridescent. How?
It's not my thing. I'm not into it.
Wow.
To me, it makes the boot look plasticky.
But it is plastic, Josh.
Yeah, but it's. I don't know.
I know what you mean. I really dig the new X. I think with the whole lines instead of the actual weave, I think it looks so streamlined and so like aerodynamic. It's ridiculous. But I mean, it could be. Gray always looks a little bit dull unless it's really shiny.
Yeah.
What about the Pred? Why didn't you mention the Pred yet?
I think the Pred looks okay.
Oh,
It's not my favorite. It reminds me of like it's like a shiny variation of what they did with the Pogba colorway.
yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, it looks good.
Oh man, you are such a hard man to please.
Yeah, I'm not like a jump up and down and get excited about colorways guy, but I think the Nemeziz 19-1 legitimately looks good. That's my favorite of this pack.
Fair enough. I guess you're a man who likes bacon.
I do.
You like your bacon.
I do.
But I wonder what
Big fan.
would actually get you to jump up and down with excitement. I know you're probably not as, not as easily excited as I am, because I'm just, like always up here and be like, oh! But you can say about that what you want. But I'd honestly like to know what could get you to that point where you just, like grabbing your head thinking, oh my sweet Lord, what is this? It's amazing. I need it.
That's a great. I don't even have the answer to that question. I don't know. I would. You know what? I feel like gold. We see a lot of silver. We never see gold.
But were you excited about the gold David Beckham, Zinedine Zidane, Pogba?
No, they were weird looking. Because it was too many colors.
What about the accelerators?
No, the accelerator looked okay, but it was still too many colors.
Okay. So which
I don't
gold
know.
boot was what?
Jay, I don't have an answer for this question, man.
Dude, this is the Boot Nerds podcast. They provide the questions. We have the answers. You gotta have an answer.
I don't have an answer for you. I apologize, but I don't have an answer.
17 episodes in, guys. We are truly humbled and sorry, and Anyway, speaking of questions, Josh, we should probably jump into some that.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
we actually have some answers for these.
All right. I have a question from Fran Antolovic. I think that's how you say that.
Awesome name.
Hulk has made the switch to concave.
Yep.
Why? What do you think of concave as a football brand?
Money in the banks. Money in the bank. I think, I remember concave from when they first came out, where they had this massive chunk of plastic in the shape of a concave form on there, where they claimed that it gave you more power. And I tried the boots and didn't really feel like they made a difference. I've tried the newer models. Not sure I've tried all of the newest models. They look all right. I'm just not really sold on the fact that they try to stick with the concave pad somewhere on the boot, but just making it smaller and smaller. It's like they've lost their USP and now they just make subpar boots that want to compete for scraps.
Yeah, that's kind of my impression. When they first hit the scene and they had this giant plastic wedge ramp thing on top of your foot, it was like, it's kind of like the Nemeziz concept where it's like, oh, this is very visually distinctive and it's very easy to understand what that's for. Yeah. But then when I actually got the chance to try them, I was just disappointed with, wow, this really doesn't feel like anything special at all. And it feels weird when you juggle. I always thought that was the case. And it almost seems like it's angled in such a way to where you're almost hitting the edge of it rather than it's straight on. And that kind of bothered me about it. And then you're right. Now that they've kind of slimmed it down, now it's like, why is it even there in the first place? Now it looks like they've just added these like dinosaur looking edges to the boot. that makes no sense. I don't know. It's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not bad boots. They're just not awesome either. That for me is just like, for me, they're really trying to, as I said, compete for scraps. They're trying to get people to, by being slightly cheaper, get people to buy them who wants to try something different and, maybe competing with Umbro, not necessarily even New Balance, but those guys who want to try something completely else than what is popular on the market.
It's a weird brand because they definitely have their own like unique gimmick. Absolutely. If you want to call it
Absolutely.
That. And I can't really think of any other brand that has as unique of a gimmick. That's like
Zygo. Do you remember Zygo?
But that was dumb.
I know.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Oh yeah. But it was unique. I'm not saying it wasn't dumb. I'm just saying it was unique.
Right. I guess the only equivalent thing I can think of is like just the glitch, where it's like only the glitch is like a glitch.
Sure.
But yeah,
Only the glitch
if
is
they're one gimmick,
the glitch is only the glitch is a glitch, but then the X17 Plus is also a glitch that's just been assembled.
That's true. That's true.
But I know what you mean. I'm just
know.
being a dick here.
No, but I don't know. If like the one gimmick to your brand isn't actually that like valuable of a gimmick, then what's the point?
And they're just toning it down. I mean, that's the entire existence of the brand.
Can I clear something
Sure.
up? If you're watching this podcast, you're probably hardcore and you probably don't even care about this, but Concave sent me boots to review like, I don't know, 2, 3, maybe it was 4 years ago now. It was a while ago.
Right.
And it was one of their synthetic models. And quite honestly, it just wasn't very good.
Fair enough.
And what Concave has done is what a lot of small boot manufacturers like to do is they go on Instagram and they find any account that has ever posted a football boot and they send them boots for free. And then all those guys who got free boots for the first time are super excited about free boots and they say positive things, even though the boot itself is not actually that good. So when the guy who's actually tried all the boots gets said incredible boot according to all these Instagram accounts, and then says, hey, this isn't actually that good. What are you guys talking about? And then all the people who got the boots for free come to the Concave's rescue trying to discredit what I said. Concave, I don't think likes me very much. Let's just say that.
I wonder why.
But just realize if you're watching this and you're looking up reviews on some of the smaller brands like to send boots for free to pretty much everybody to try and like buy positive opinions basically. And it's proven to work. So I guess if you're just looking for a review, just I guess
watch us. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, just pay attention to what other boots they've reviewed and what they've said about them, I guess.
Be critical of, of the source of where your review comes from. Absolutely. Like what incentive does the reviewer have to say what he or she says? Is it because they've been given stuff for free, in which case they should actually say it? Or is it because they genuinely like the product? That is something you should know when you watch reviews. It's very important that you should know that you can trust the source. Yeah, I don't blame these brands. I think it works, so it's a great marketing strategy. But I just think when it comes to Concave and why Hulk has done it, for me, switching from Mizuno to Concave is like switching from a Lamborghini to a very like a smart, whatever the smart car is called. It's like it's not a bad car. It's just not a Lamborghini. I mean. Would I do it if I got paid 2 million euros a month? Okay, maybe I'd drive the smart. But I mean, this is Mizuno we're talking about.
It's clearly a money. Look where he's playing.
Yeah, right? I know. We don't have to dwell more on that question. I think it's very clear.
All right. Here's a question that's more for you than for me, and it's from Mickey Leeds. What grip socks do you recommend?
Okay. So this is actually a very good question because grip socks is something that's very, very close to my heart. And I think everyone who's watched Unisport they will know that I have a massive hard-on for the Falke 4 grip socks. Fantastic grip socks. But there's also this Italian company, Calze PDX, or however you say it in Italian, that make these like, I would call them true socks inspired socks. I actually have a pair lying around here somewhere. Talk about your favorite grip socks, and I'll get the Calze socks. Just a sec.
Okay, my favorite grip socks are not wearing grip socks. In general, I don't mind wearing grip socks, but in general, it's just not my thing. Mainly because I feel like once I start wearing grip socks, I feel the need to constantly wear them. So in general, I just try to avoid them, especially when I'm testing new boots, because I feel like grip socks can kind of skew how a boot feels and to a certain extent performs, because it does legitimately add more grip. But if you like having the extra grip, then by all means wear grip socks. I don't know. I almost feel like sometimes having the extra grip is more uncomfortable for me, but I'm weird because obviously people really seem to like grip socks.
Yes, you are very weird. And with those words, I'd like to introduce my other favorite grip sock at the moment, Calze PDX. As you can see, it looks a lot like a true sock, but the pads aren't suede. They're this very sticky, grippy material. and they're not as thick, and they haven't been applied, on top of the sock. It feels like more the material has been, I don't know, welded into the sock itself. So it's not as it doesn't protrude as much from the sock, so the pads don't get stuck underneath your foot like it had a tendency to do with true socks. Sock itself is very nice, has a good amount of compression stretch to it, feels good, and they also make these like tube socks, so you can actually put them. This is new, so you can put them over your use them as match socks, and just you don't need tape and stuff. I like that. And finally, also shout out to the Socks Pro socks as well. I give those a run out here and then as well.
Okay, so basically you've recommended any grip socks that have ever existed.
Yeah, more or less. It really depends. I always have a couple of socks in my bag also, for different thicknesses, what I feel like that day, what kind of boot I want to wear. But I always keep a pair of Falke and a pair of the PDX socks in my bag. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say they all do the same job for the most part.
Mm-hmm. It's just about how much
grip you kind of just have to. Yeah, it's pretty much just like pick a pair, try them out, and then when you need a new pair, maybe if you want to try something different, and you might find that you like those better or worse. Yeah. It's kind of like a trial and error thing with socks, I find.
Exactly. And the most important thing for me is that the grip is decent and the sock is high quality. Like a high quality sock, you never go wrong with that if you like grip or not.
Okay, I've got a good question here from Lifetime W.
What a name.
What is your... Yeah, it's a great name. What is your favorite boot tech / concept from the last 12 months?
Ooh, that is an interesting question. Favorite piece of boot tech from the last, and the rubber pad on the Predator doesn't count, right?
No. That's I was gonna suggest that. I was gonna suggest that or the lace cover on the Phantom Venom, but I have a couple answers because I suck at picking just one. I was thinking just the whole general concept of Copa 19 Plus, I think is pretty impressive.
Yes.
I really think that was cool. Mm-hmm. Also, and I already forgot. Well,
great.
I like the fact that Nike. I like the fact that Nike brought back the striking element on the Venom.
Sure.
I think that's very cool.
Uh-huh. For me, the first thing I thought about was Fusion Skin, because for me on the Copa 19 Plus, for me Fusion Skin is the thing that has really, we might look back on in 5 years' time and think, okay, this revolutionized the game, because Fusion Skin does something to leather, actually allows people to print and engineer, glue on leather. Unlike you could previously, it's less water absorbent, it's lighter, and it has this really unique ability to just be welded together with everything, knit or whatever is on the Copa. I think that's a very, very big step for innovation, the Fusion Skin. I think the striking element. I mean, there's a lot of tech out there on the market that I like because it works well. I don't know if you could say that NetFit is a technology that's been introduced in the last 12 months. I like the current version of Nemeziz.
I was thinking that too. Had the knitted upper been better, then I would say yes. But I don't think it's on par with Nike and Adidas in terms of like what they've done with knitted uppers. But I was gonna say, I just remembered what my initial answer was. I think the quad fit system in the Phantom Vision, it's good now. I mean, obviously you don't like the Phantom Vision, and that's perfectly fine. But I think that's an element that has a lot of potential in a next generation boot or even in other lines from Nike.
I agree. They just gotta make it more the effect of the boot, the tech. They gotta make the effect more significant. It was the same thing with the fit mesh in the Jumbo Legends, which is also still a very nice idea. I just don't really. I don't feel it when I go from a Jumbo Legend 7 to a 4 in terms of how much my foot moves inside the boot. And similarly, I don't feel a difference from a Phantom Venom to a Vision in terms of, I don't really feel it's there. And maybe it's just my mind playing tricks on me because I don't really care that much for the vision that I don't want it to work, if you know what I mean. Might be my bad.
Yeah.
But I just, it probably works and it probably does a job. I just would like it to be more in my face that I actually can feel it working rather than just adding a little bit of structure to the upper, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't say that. I'd say Copa is probably the biggest thing.
But
nothing.
Quad Fit Mesh has a lot of potential. I agree with you, and it's an exciting way to go in terms of improving lockdown and stability inside the boot without just smashing your laces tightly together. Definitely something to work with.
Yeah.
If they can make it more adaptive, even that would be very interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's basically just making the liner the fastening system and then completely separating that from the upper.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of that technology, not just in their boots, but across footwear in the Nike brand.
Hopefully, yeah.
All right, I have a question from Jonathan Rodriguez. JayMike and Josh. Who's Josh?
Who is Josh?
What boot is your guilty pleasure? To put it another way, what boot that either performs or looks bad or both are favorites of yours?
Okay. That's a very interesting question. I would say that my guilty pleasure would probably be, but it doesn't really look or performs badly. I don't generally wear stuff that doesn't perform. Do you have anything while I think?
I kind of view this question as like boots that typically maybe are not looked back on as being like particularly excellent. But for me, I think like T90 Laser 2 maybe. I feel like that's not like a favorite of a lot of people. I really like those. Under Armour Blur Carbon 3, just because it's fresh in my head. I was just talking about them recently. That's not a particularly popular boot. Puma Power Cat 110, I really liked for some reason. That's a weird pick.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. Something about the feeling of striking the ball in that boot.
Yeah,
I don't know. Unlike anything else.
I mean, you love the Laser 2s, so I guess you will also love the Power Cat 110s. You like yourself some power. What I just thought is that probably the boot I've enjoyed the most that hasn't really got the recognition it deserves, and thus being a guilty pleasure, I guess. Evo Power Vigor for me would probably be up there, and also maybe it's people will know I'm gonna say this, but the Wave Cup Legends. I mean,
the Wave Cup Legends.
It's not a bad looking boot or a bad performing boot by any means, but it's just something that. I know I shouldn't be wearing it because I just want it to always be nice and fresh and stuff, but I wear it anyways because it's amazing.
Yeah. You know what I'm even thinking? Like, I like wearing Nike Premiers. Like, there's nothing about that boot that's like special.
I know.
But it's great. Like, if you told me, hey, wear Nike Premiers for the rest of the season, I'm not upset.
I understand what you mean. There's something about the Premier and especially the outsole. It's too soft for me. I always feel like a little bit sloppy when I wear them. The leather is awesome. The comfort is great. The shape of the boot is amazing. I'm not sold on the sole plate yet. Maybe I'm not old and slow.
But you're really into the stiffer sole plates.
I know. I'm a little bit annoying like that. But I think the Vigors would probably be my best answer. Blur Carbon 3s is a solid answer. Very underrated.
Yeah. Okay, one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Addy Powers, of course. What am I thinking? Addy Powers.
Yeah, but that's not a guilty pleasure.
Of course it is.
Everyone likes Addy Powers.
It's like the slime Addy Powers are really, really ugly, but I enjoy wearing them anyway.
Yeah, you're right. That is ugly. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you. Last question from David King. Extremely normal name. What are your top 3 go-to boots right now?
Ooh. That's a very good question. I would probably say off the top of my head, do they have to be on the market and be available right now? No,
let's just say the last 3 boots you've worn.
Okay, easy. Vapor 12s, Wave Cup Legends, and Copa 19 Pluses. And if they have to be on the market, I'll add the Puma 1119s instead. 111111.
Okay.
1111.
Solid choices. My list is a little
Yeah,
different.
I can imagine.
New Balance Tequila, believe it
Solid.
or not, is on that list.
Lots of love for that.
Phantom Venoms I've been wearing.
Fair.
And then X18.1 I'm a big fan of those. That's my 3 go-tos right now that I'm putting in my bag.
Those would be boots that if we went back 2 or 3 months, I could very easily randomly have had in my backpack. I'm still really confused about whether I love the Vapors or the Phantom Venoms more. Because I really like the Phantom Venoms. They're very good.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
and that rounds out episode 17.
But maybe people should tell us what their guilty pleasure for boots is.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. It's a weird question. It's a good question.
It's a great question. I mean, it actually forces you to think a little bit because you have to also think about which boot hasn't been that popular or doesn't look very good, and you still wear it because it's just so awesome. Very, very good question.
Oh, I actually, you know what? I have an answer. I have another answer.
This could either be really good or like so weird. I'm very excited.
No, they're good boots, but like every time I wear them, people are just like, "What the hell are those?" And I've got these. They're Puma ones, but they're like this black and yellow, and they were designed by this weird guy from Denmark. Every time I wear them, people are just picking on me.
Wow. I was like, Puma, one which is black and yellow, and it's sitting right here on my desk.
Oh, no, you have them as an example. Oh, there they are.
Guilty pleasure, yeah. Honestly,
Such a weird boot.
I understand that for everyone out there who has ever seen me on YouTube or anything, met me in real life, it must be a little bit weird running around with a boot that has my initials on him.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
But I have a whole lot of love for everyone wearing my boots, including you, believe it or not. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Biggest experience I've ever had. Of course, I wear these when I wear the ones. Just because. I actually got a pair for my little brother as well. He hooked me up and was like, "Yo, Jay, those Puma 119.1s, are they any good?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're really good boots." He said, like, "Oh, I'm going to buy them." Awesome, man. And I was like, "Bro, yo, you what?" I mean, of course he has to wear my boots.
What an oversight. Unreal.
Yeah, wow, okay, yeah. Oh, wow, that really took a while to head home. I'm actually a little bit... You said a guy from Denmark. I was like, what? Oh. Anyways, with that embarrassment of myself, I think it's time that we conclude the 17th episode of the Boot Nerds podcast. As we said in the beginning, if you have enjoyed yourself, leave us a like. If you thought everything has been absolutely rubbish, you can also leave us a like just to troll us or actually leave a dislike if that's what you want. But please leave us a like. We get so happy. Also, don't forget to ask some seriously good questions like the ones we've seen in this episode. Very good questions in the comment section right down below. Of course, also, if you want to see what Josh is up to, as per usual, on his channel, awesome intros, all the jazz, you can click the subscribe button right over by his head. You can also see what we're up to at Unisport. We make the usual goofy stuff, the occasional review and all that stuff. You can subscribe to us over here. And finally, do not forget to subscribe to the best podcast on YouTube, the best podcast on YouTube, Boot Nerds Podcast. To get a notification every time we drop a podcast, click the black bubble in the middle. And with that, I think my English vocabulary for today has run out. So, Josh, I'll let you close it down.
I just wanted to point out that when I watch these podcasts back, I feel like I underuse my hands compared to you. So,
and
I guess with that said, we'll see you in the next episode. Later.
Bye, guys. You had to mention the hands.